I have Kennedy Offor, who is head of sales at Chowdeck for this panel. See life. When I was canvassing for applause for myself, I didn't get anything. All right. So we also have Yinka Adewuyi, who is CEO of GoLemon. All right. We have Guy Futi, who is CEO and co-founder of Orda. We also have Oyin Damola from Food Concepts as well. To moderate this session, Osarume Osamuyi, who is the founder of Subtext. All right, have a great conversation.
Hello, everyone. Quick question. How many of you have ordered food in the past day? 24 hours? Week? Month? So if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that there's something different about food delivery in Nigeria. In 2017, Jumia Food served Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt with 80 delivery riders. As at today, one player on this panel, Chowdeck, has 10,000 riders doing 40K deliveries a day. More importantly, it feels like there's a lot more cultural awareness, lots more infrastructure to support delivery in Nigeria. At the same time, you look at the macroeconomic situation, you look at the fact that living costs keep rising, but along with those living costs, delivery numbers are going up and to the right. So one of the key goals for today's panel is to understand what is the opportunity for delivery in Nigeria. Delivery companies are often not profitable, or it often takes them a long time to get profitable across food, groceries, etc. So yeah, we're just going to jump into the conversation. Guy, one of the theories I've been playing with in the past couple months is that delivery matters because everybody needs to eat. And it's more a question of how do you order the food you want to get and what do you buy, what vendor do you buy from. And I suspect that makes it a good medium to understand the market for discretionary consumer technology services in the market. So the theory is that someone who is going to have a fintech app likely has a delivery app already installed on their phones. Before this version of your life where you're the CEO of Orda, you led Jumia Food in Nigeria. So I say can you comment broadly on how big is the market for delivery in Nigeria?
Now, today, or then?
Give me both.
I can't really say because, I know how big the food market is in general, but what I would say is it's growing quite a bit, right? If you were to ask me, top out, how many deliveries I think you can do in Nigeria per day today, is that the question?
How big is the market?
I think you could probably do 200,000, 250 today, right? And then I'm thinking about at Jumia 2018, when I took over, we were doing 300. And then when I left, we scaled to 10,000, right? And so I looked at it as if this doubles every year, I think probably we could get to 100, 250,000 a day. Like 250 is pushing it, like today is what I would say.
Kennedy, what do you think about that?
I think he's spot on. The food industry has really grown from when he was in Jumia. Today, we've really pushed the barrier when it comes to number of orders you can do in a single day. So Chowdeck pushed the barrier much, much higher. Today, we do close to 40,000 orders in a single day. Yeah.
Round of applause, please. Yinka, we had a conversation earlier in the year, and you said something interesting. You said that the delivery companies that have tried to get grocery delivery right, or try to do grocery delivery, have often focused on delivering produce instantly. And the bet you were making was that if you focus on price and selection, then, there's a market opportunity there. What have you learned so far about the Nigerian market?
I think for the most part, it is still the same. The feeling that I had at the time that we spoke. And I think the way that we have thought about it is that I think there's a concept that is called unattainable triangle, where the value that you can offer is two of three things, like speed, quality, or price, right? We think that the perfect reflection of the society that we live in, considering the economy of a day, the culture of the people, speed works in instances where it works for products like maybe cooked food, but for grocery, again, primarily because the average, or culturally in this part of the world, the average person does a lot of their groceries at the end of a month, mid-month, but usually like a bulk purchase, right? So what it means is that for many people, grocery is preempted. A plan towards it. It's not true for everyone, and there are even times where you have impulse needs to meet up some of that. But the thing that is true for all of us across all the social classes is that we're for the most part the poor people, right? And what it means is that speed is really expensive, and in that triangle that I've just described, you really cannot match speed and price, again, because speed is expensive. So for us, the approach is that let's pick two out of those three things that we think that one, sets up for success. Two is a reflection of the people, the culture, and the place that we are in. And at the time that we started, that's what the goal is. Where we are 5-6 months down the line, that's all that we're learning. There's so much out there that we haven't even scratched the surface without even focusing on speed, right? It is that when you buy your grocery for 150K at the end of a month, and it's a bag of rice and a carton of noodles and your dispenser water that you don't need tomorrow or right now, that people would prioritize that they are getting them for the right prices. And that is still true for us.
Kennedy, did you have something to say about it?
Yeah, I totally agree with what he said. In terms of like the three things we are pursuing as a business as well at Chowdeck, speed, of course, is very important to us. I mean, people order food when they are hungry. Literally, Nigerians order food. You order food now and they want it now. So speed, when it comes to speed, pricing, and the quality of the product or the service, for us is also important across the three dimensions. But if you look across the different players in the market today, Chowdeck is also expensive, and that's where we've taken our own, we've prioritized speed and quality, and we are expensive because we know that there is no way for us to get those two things without, taking back, one of those three things. And we've pretty much just run with that. And Nigerians obviously want to pay for the convenience. They want that speed. They want their food delivered on time. And for us, it's been okay for us to run that way. But we are trying to also see how we can be able to cut down on pricing in such a way that it's also affordable to Nigerians to order food whenever they want it.
And how are you doing that?
So more recently, we launched a product called Chow Smart, which basically gives you a creation of very affordable meals around you that for a price point as low as 2,000 naira, you can get a plate of rice and chicken, for example. And it's not something that a lot of people could, buy before. We've kind of figured out a way to work with partners and vendors on the platform to create very nice combos that could be sold to people so that they can be able to buy food, affordable prices, and also have them delivered quickly. So it's something we put out there. It just came out in October, and we're hoping that everybody in the crowd will be able to tap into it and also buy the products.
Guy, thank you very much. You were MD of Jumia Food, and you're running Orda right now, which is a restaurant CRM or OS for restaurants across Africa. One, why didn't you start a food delivery company when you left Jumia Food? What did you see?
So Kennedy, don't hate me, all right? So a couple of things. Number one, personal, and number two, macro. Running a food business, logistics is really hard. Like I saw him today, I'm like, don't get tired. That was the first thing. Just don't get tired, because you can get really tired very quickly. That was the first thing. And then the second thing, as I was mentioning the numbers, actually this is the most important reason. I remember one time I took a trip to China in Beijing, and we visited Meituan. And Meituan was doing like 20 million food delivery orders in Beijing by like 2, 3 p.m. And I think they were doing like 30 million. And then a lot of cities in, in New York and all these big cities are doing millions per hour, right? And then I look at that scale, and I started to sort of compute what it would take for us to get to millions per hour, right? And I looked around, and in Beijing they have a 50-foot building, 50-floor building, 700 apartments, and one delivery driver can do all the so yeah, I think it's going to take a long time before we get to 1 million deliveries per hour, right? And so looking at that, looking at my personal and where I know it should go, I left it to them.
I totally agree with what he said. Because you look at other regions, and you look at the US, for example, you see Starbucks has over 16,000 outlets in US alone. McDonald's has over 10,000 outlets as well. And they're like, literally at every corner in the US. But you come to Nigeria, and the biggest outlet you have is Chicken Republic, and just about 100 outlets. So like, it kind of gives you the idea that like, the markets that we are serving is, while we have numbers and we have like outlets, the density of restaurants over there and the number of people who are buying, the culture there is entirely different. So it's going to take a while before we get to like those numbers. Swiggy just recently launched a 10-minute delivery service where you order food and it gets to you in 10 minutes. And that's ridiculous. I can't explain, I can't explain it, but it's something that we are hoping to get to someday. Hopefully we get to the point where we are helping businesses expand, have businesses in every corner where you can be able to like get food across to people as quickly as possible.
One of the things I'm hearing is, I guess, to make this model, or to make a delivery model work in this market, you need to make a few adaptations to the model.
Absolutely.
So to take the example that Guy used, if you go to Hong Kong or Shanghai, you have 70-story buildings, and a rider can make 8 to 10 deliveries at the same time. The economics are fundamentally different when, in Nigeria, you need to go to somebody's estate and then figure out the right magical incantations to speak so they let you in. And then you get to the front of their gate and wait for the customer. It's just while other riders are waiting, so you can't batch orders as much. I guess, what adaptations are you making specifically to make this model work in this market, given that we don't assume 20 million orders are going to come in next year?
So we've been doing a lot of work to help businesses launch new outlets. So some of the businesses that we started off with, we listen to them, we have conversations around, what their business plans are. We've helped a lot of businesses set up new outlets, just in a way to get what they produce and the food they make to like other regions, because we found out that like people, for example, like a particular meal, but they're ordering from somewhere way too far. And when you look at the data, it shows you that there are orders coming in from a different location that a rider will probably spend, say, 30, 40 minutes to get there. So why not just, start up something that is closer to that location? Could be a cloud kitchen, could be a physical outlet, and try to get food across to them. In that way, you are expanding the business presence. You are also ensuring that you are shortening delivery time. Food is getting to people faster. And you have more people, patronizing the business. And we've done that a whole lot with like, smaller businesses in Yaba, for example, businesses in Ikeja, getting them across to move from those areas to the island where people can also buy their food at more affordable rates, is what we've been, trying to like do more of.
Yinka, I'm listening to this and I wonder how long until, I guess, GoLemon and Chowdeck begin to compete a bit more directly, because if you assume that the thing that happens in someone's brain when they place a grocery order is that they're saying, okay, over the next 2 weeks, over the next month, here's roughly what my nutrition needs are, and here's the capital I'm going to deploy to, I guess, to sort those needs out. And Kennedy is like, yeah, I'm going to make it really convenient for you. Just, don't think about that at all. Just place the order when you're hungry. How do you think about, I guess, making a case for GoLemon in this market, given?
Yeah, I think it's maybe easier than would think it. So the first thing is that the culture at the moment, for the most part, is still very in person. for a lot of people. The market is so big, so big. And when I say the market it really is all of us. But inside of that market are different personas, right? And different needs per time. You find people who need, the same way you find like the big supermarkets and you find convenience stores like by your house where you can pick, I don't know, toothpaste because you didn't realize that you were out of paste. But I think just generally the model that we're building and what we're building and how we think about it is that we think that it's a reflection of the culture of the people, right? And we're learning. We have a bunch of assumptions that we had, but we're learning and we're validating some of the assumptions that in itself or by itself, the percentage of the people that could potentially switch culturally from buying groceries offline to online is even huge for the large basket size orders, right? And that's where we fit in. To give you context, today, the average basket size on GoLemon is about 50K, right? So it means that the average person is buying like a bunch of stuff. It's not just 2-3 items, right? They're buying yams, they're buying dispenser water, they're buying tomatoes, and they're buying like a bunch of stuff, right? So I think first, just on a high level, the opportunity that exists and the problems that we're solving and the models that we're approaching them fits into completely multiple different personas, right? And there is like, I don't know, the grocery market is, again, like I said, is all of us, right? And the goal that we have is to make sure that buying grocery online is not any more expensive, in fact, cheaper. This is the first time in this part of the world where buying groceries online is cheaper than walking into the markets. And that's the goal that we have.
How are you able to achieve that?
It's just basic economics, right? What we're doing, and that's the reason why speed is not what we focus on. How we're able to do that, if you just think about like the basic, I guess, supply chain flow. When it starts from the manufacturer, it ends with the consumer. For every stop that a product makes along the way is additional margin. Typically to the retail points where you go to the market or the supermarket, a product has gone through multiple touch points, like a distributor, a wholesaler, blah, blah, blah. What we're doing is that we're cutting all of that, and pretty much how it works is that you have suppliers bring items directly to our fulfillment center. So what it means is that we've cut down all of the middlemen that adds margin in the process, right? Because the way that we think about ourselves, and actually the way that we think that grocery would culturally shift from in-person to online is, like I said before, to make it not any more expensive, right? Convenience is a luxury that a lot of us cannot afford. There are people who can afford it, right? But a lot of us cannot afford, and that's the reason why we think that when we shrink that, what it means is that when the journey from, like say for example, Seaway supplies water directly to us, right? What it means is that if we're buying water from the company, and we're adding just one level margin to it, the product is by default cheaper or worse equal to what you get at the store. And also because we do batch deliveries and we're not prioritizing speed, it means that we can also lower delivery fees to, at the moment on GoLemon, it's like 300 naira for the most part, because a single van that is going out for delivery goes with 10, 15 orders at a time. So you see that, again, the way that we've just thought about, and it's consistent with the logic that I shared before, that we optimize for price and quality because we think that that is a perfect reflection of the culture, the people, and I guess the economic term that we live in.
Yeah, I agree with him because we are on the flip side. For us, we are pretty much, you can say, serving the same market if you like, but like we are more focused on the guys who forgot that the toothpaste is finished at home. So like they need to quickly get the toothpaste in, and those are the kind of people we are looking for. In our own case, our AOV is much more smaller than 50,000. Our AOV for groceries is pegged around 7,000 naira. So you can imagine that like people who are just buying the basic things they need instantly. You want to cook a pot of rice, you don't have tomato paste at home, you quickly get on Chowdeck, order the paste or order whatever you want to order to make the meal instantly. So for us, we are more focused on speed and just the quality of the product you're getting as against the other vertical that they're focused on.
Guy, which of these models do you find more compelling?
Software? No, I mean, like, that's a very good question. It's a very, very good question. It's two different markets. It's two different type of consumers, right? And I mean, you know, again, I'll say software, right? So when, yeah, good question. I don't have one. I don't have an answer. I'm not going to answer that one. They're both extremely challenging. You need scale. You need, like, he's probably going to have to get to a point where he wants to bulk buy to make things cheaper, or if his whole proposition is speed, no, is convenience and price, then he's going in that direction, right? So how do I make it, you know, more affordable for people? And then the next evolution, companies like Zap will go, okay, well, let's do dark stores, let's bulk buy, like that's the direction. Whereas they're probably going to be, you know, we need to get more and more restaurants out there. Like, do we do cloud kitchens? Do we push them out? Like, we need to get more deliveries. So I don't think that they'll be competing at any point, right? Not for the immediate, but it's just two very different pathways. Both need a lot of cash, right? Both, and very hard to kind of take from Nigeria and go across the continent. And again, that's why I like software.
So Orda currently sits, you know, across multiple African markets. Is it two? Can you correct me? Three, yes. And one of the things we've heard in this conversation is that, like, the restaurant or retailer ecosystem matters for the kind of experience you're able to deliver. So can you give us a sense for, one, in Nigeria, what percentage of orders are, I guess, delivery-based orders? And two, can you compare Nigeria to a market like Kenya? Like, how do the ecosystems differ?
I mean, Nigeria's definitely increasing, and it's growing fast, but I would say food delivery is about less than 5 to 10% of overall food, like a restaurant's production, like sales, right? Which is very small compared to Kenya. Kenya, you can 25, 30% is standard, right? You can even have some restaurants. In fact, there's a lot of restaurants that are just delivery only, right? That's all they do. They just do delivery only. It's not even a cloud kitchen. It's just someone out on the corner on a street and says, I'm not taking any walk-ins, right? So you get a lot of those. You get a lot of those brands, and they become I call them Insta restaurants, right? There's a lot of Instagram restaurants that won't take physical orders, will only do online. So I would say it's about 30% at least in Kenya. And then South Africa, it's even more, right? So yeah, we got a long way to go here.
What do we need to do or learn as a Nigerian delivery ecosystem, I guess, to get to that point?
Why are you giving me all the hard ones? It's just, like, what do we need to learn? Okay, don't come at me. I don't, you know, it's difficult, right? It's about who wants to order, right? I still view, personally, I think it's a luxury to order online, right? Like, I do it once every couple of weeks, right? And so I think, and then also the selection as well, like, everyone is selling the same thing. It's jollof, right? So, like, you know, I think there's, like, for e-commerce, which is, you know, what on-demand delivery is, there are, like, three things that are very important. Like, number one is obviously convenience. Number two is selection. And then there's speed, right? So I think we need more different type of restaurants. Consumers need to want more different types of restaurants, right? And then that pushes people on the market, right? So yeah, like, if there's something I want, like here, I don't eat Thai food, but when I'm in Nairobi, I would order from a Thai food place, right? Here, I know where I'm getting my jollof. Either I'm going on, you know, shout out to Food Court. I love Food Court, right? I like their smoky jollof, right? I know where I'm gonna get my jollof, and that's probably the only place I'm getting it, right?
Speaking of jollof, Kennedy, in August 2023, Chicken Republic announced a partnerships with Chowdeck and Glovo. In August 2024, Chicken Republic announced an exclusive partnership with Chowdeck. What happened in that 1 year?
Moving up the ladder.
How?
I think we showed great partnership. We brought a lot to the table. For us, Chicken Republic I mean, it took us a while to get there, I will tell you. For like over a year, we were knocking on the door to try to get a partnership with them. And when we came on board, you know, when you've been trying to follow up with somebody and the person now gives you an opportunity, you have to like show them what you can bring to the table. And we really did that in the last 1 year. We put out amazing campaigns with them. For both of us, it was also a step up for our business and for them because like it made delivery more convenient for them. We were able to like open up new markets where they didn't have a lot of presence in, and even just help in strengthening, you know, consumers out there that are always buying from Chicken Republic. I think it was a win-win. And then in 2024, you know, we came back to the table together and said, guys, you know, we've done 1 year together in this relationship. I think we can take it a step further. And they were on board with it because they knew the vision we have for what we are building. They know where we are heading to in terms of the convenience we're trying to bring to, you know, the Nigerian market. And, you know, Kofi was always on our side. So, like, it was easy to get that on.
I'd like you to be a little more specific about what you brought to the table. Thank you.
Convenience. I think I mean, if you look around Lagos today, you probably, for every 100 or 200 meters, you probably see a Chicken Republic billboard. And that's you putting the business on the map in the country. We did a lot of that in August 2023. We did that again in 2024. We've significantly improved the quality of service. They also give out to like consumers. They recently launched the as soon as possible, you know, as soon food. And we also played a huge role in getting that out there. So for us, we've always had like solutions to a lot of things they are thinking, what they want to do. The challenging economy as well, whenever, you know, the time comes around, whatever it is that we have to do to ensure that, you know, the business is up and running, we also like, you know, pitch in and try to ensure that we figure out ways to help them grow as little as we can, whether it's quick delivery, whether it's the amount of data we're able to give them in terms of where orders are coming in and whatnot. So we did a lot of that, and, you know, for them, they really acknowledged that help and decided to, you know, make this a one-sole partnership that we can run across.
In that same month, August 2023, Chowdeck onboarded, and this is probably not public, about 1,000 riders in that same month. My assumption is that happened because you received an influx of volume and you needed to.
The reward for good work is more work.
The question here is, how big do you think that partnership gets? And what happens after that? Like, what's the plan? To get beyond 250K, assuming that's...
Yeah, so the plan is to continue expanding, expanding the presence that we have with them. We've grown the number of riders we have on the network. Chicken Republic has an amazing distribution. They are in a lot of states and they're the biggest QSR in Nigeria at the moment. We even still have states today where we don't operate in, where Chicken Republic is available. The idea is to get into those states. So places like Enugu, for example, you know, Chowdeck is not in the east. Chicken Republic has outlets in those areas, for example. We are also looking at, you know, how we can get presence in those places, further help them galvanize, you know, delivery, just as we've done in Lagos and other places where we're helping them. And then just see how much we can be able to like further increase, you know, their sales in those places. And even for us as well, because as we are helping them get food, they have affordable food, it means a lot of people can come onto the platform and see affordable meals to buy from us. So I guess the plan is to try to get into those states where they are present and we are not, and also to see how well we can further improve them opening up new outlets in places that we want to also go to as well.
Guy, I loved what you said about software, because I guess one thing that is true for all of these businesses here is that beyond Lagos, beyond Nigeria, you need to think about expansion. Yinka, how do you think about, I guess, the expansion pathway for GoLemon? Either what cities are you looking at? How do you decide what cities are interesting to launch in? What do you need to do?
The plan for us is pretty straightforward. The mission that we have is to feed the country to start with. So what it means, and that's the reason why we think that the way that the questions we're asking the things that we're learning are very, when we make it work, it's easy to apply across board, right? Because again, what we're doing is really just what exists, but using the internet. So it's everything that exists. It's walking into the market and buying your fish for 200 naira. So that's buying it on GoLemon for 200 naira. It's being at the market and saying that I want my turkey cut in 3 pieces and I want my carrots chopped, because it's what the market seller does for you. It's us doing that for you as well. So for us, and not at any extra cost, for the most part. So for us, we think that what we're doing is pretty, I mean, when we figure it out, it's not undermining the work and learnings that we have to make. But for us, the path is somewhat to feed the country and potentially the continent, because we think that what we're building is maybe relatively, we'll figure out how to apply it across board. But I think obviously we're looking at first urban cities, because that's where I think 51% or so of, I don't know, spend in urban cities is on food and groceries, pretty much. That's what people spend money on. So when you think of urban cities, you think of Lagos, obviously. You think of Abuja, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and a few places. So I think that those places feel immediately like the next step. But obviously, again, the goal and the mission for us is to apply what we're learning and everything that we're building to the rest of the country first and the continent.
Next, we're going to talk a little bit about a problem that Guy probably doesn't have to worry about too much. So if you look at the past 10 years in delivery in Nigeria, something that you see happening is that when delivery companies pop up and they start to do well, for lack of a better way to put it, sometimes people in the government decided they need to do something about that. The most recent example that we had is OPay in, I believe, 2020. Kennedy, how does Chowdeck, how you started thinking about, I guess, if/when that conversation starts?
Hopefully not.
Prayer is not a strategy.
I think, so for us, we are first of all hoping it doesn't happen, first of all. But depending on what the policies are, I think we've built a team that is very dynamic and flexible enough to think around strategy on what to do. I think one of the things we also working on is trying to get presence in other places beyond just Nigeria. So Chowdeck is thinking of expansion beyond Nigeria. I think that's something we are working on. So hopefully we get to that point before the when and if happens, so that we can have an additional market where we are also being able to provide the same service that we're providing to Nigerians. But I think what I can say is we have an amazing set of people working at Chowdeck, and if for whatever reason there is a change in policy or change in what we need to do as a business, we have people within the team who can be able to think on their feet and figure out something we can do to get things continue running.
Thank you very much. Guy, Orda currently monetizes through a subscription. What's it been like trying to get Nigerian merchants to pay a monthly subscription?
Very hard. So subscription is one of those things that every time, so in not just Nigerians, Kenyans, everyone. So what it tends to happen, it's a referendum on if you want to pay the minute the bill hits. We use I think we use Paystack to do a lot of our subscription debits. And what happens is they use the service, they love it, then on the 15th or whether they're programmed, they see Orda 10, 20, 50K, and that's usually when we get some calls, right? So it's just you people haven't done this, you people haven't done that. So yeah, I say a subscription is always, and it's even on a personal level, every time I see Netflix come up on my GT account, I'm like, I didn't watch Netflix last month. Why am I paying for Netflix? And then I'm thinking, and then I realize it's going to be a lot of work to go in there, switch it off, and then I keep it, and then I'll force myself to watch a show that day just so I feel like I've used it. So that's really what happens, with subscriptions. So getting people to pay subscription is really difficult, but we've done an amazing job. The team comes with some really ingenious solutions, right? So, and the next step as well is trying to take the subscription as people eat their food. So we have payments now on terminals where, that they give to their restaurants. And just like if your subscription is like 10, 20K a month, we start to take it from whenever you eat the food. So just kind of hiding where you're getting the subscriptions, like making it less of a noticeable thing, making it less contentious, because the economy's pretty hard right now, and seeing, just like 50K one time, right? And yeah, it's a tough ask sometimes.
Do you have a point of view right now on how many restaurants, I guess, exist in Nigeria who can and will pay that subscription?
I think, so I was just having this talk, I look at not necessarily subscription, I look at how am I going to monetize this, right? And so subscription was the initial pathway, right? And then now it's changed. And it's changed because we've got 1,500 customers in, Nigeria, restaurants, right? And there's so many things we could do. Like, think about it. Every one of them has a restaurant, and then they have a printer that they have to give out, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking, do I have to charge them a subscription? Can I get a betting company or any other company to put advertising on these dormant receipts, right? And then start to monetize that way. Or we have access to some of their restaurants, and who wants to lend to restaurants? A lot of people, right? So can I get someone to come in and say, hey, give us restaurants who are performing at this clip and need lend? So we do pop-ups now on our software where a restaurant will just be sitting at home and they'll see, do you want 5 million naira, right? And then they'll apply, and then one of our partners, Carbon, will assess, and then Carbon will give us a cut for that. So that's where I'm just trying to think, like, the traditional get people to pay software on a monthly basis is really difficult to do. And our job, as I'm sure everyone on this panel and every founder in Nigeria, is you have to think of ways to monetize beyond the obvious. You have to really now start to be like, okay, like I see Chowdeck now, you guys have a lot of advertising on your app, right? I don't know. So we have to think of ways to make it easy for someone to pay that fee and monetize.
I'm so happy you brought up the ad product, because that's exactly where I was going to go next. So, I find that curious for a number of reasons, but an ad product is successful, quote unquote, to the extent that it gets somebody to buy something. How does, and I guess Chowdeck has so far focused on being good at moving packages from point A to point B. How are you thinking about your transition or expansion into being an advertising company? How do you actually build a compelling product that converts?
So I think we've done a good work at even starting up that vertical in terms of advertising. Again, you mentioned that people advertise for so many reasons. Some people advertise for just awareness. Some advertise for conversion. And depending on what the business is, Chowdeck is able to provide you with both. We started advertising pretty much earlier this year, I'll say early last year, and it's been pretty much early days for us still. I don't think we are going to move fully into advertising, but the idea is to continue expanding, areas where people can be able to put up their business without actually, disturbing people who are trying to buy food on the platform. And I think today we've done a pretty decent job at, making that happen, where it's not blocking you from buying the actual food you want to buy, but you just see it there. And people are able to interact with it. You can see it at the top. You can see it at the bottom of the page. I think the only one people will probably speak to today, which also we try to, which is also an avenue for us to promote restaurant and deals, is the one that pops up on the screen. But sometimes those ads are also restaurants who are trying to sell food to you or give you a better deal for you to buy from and whatnot. So it's just always a mix of both. But we are still very early in the advertising space. The plan is to try to get in more partners who would be able to buy more spaces, get up spaces where it's not interfering with you buying food on the platform, and you still having a very good experience, when you want to buy food on Chowdeck.
Just a quick follow-up here. So one of the things you see when you have an app that people open every day is sometimes you sell advertising there. I have seen, I'll take Glovo as an example. Glovo does some form of advertising or promotions for their partners. The difference, and what I thought was interesting about Chowdeck's approach, is that you are accepting advertising from pretty much anybody who is willing to pay you for it. Um, how did the advertising product come about? And I guess, can you talk about the thinking behind that decision?
So we kind of looked at food delivery businesses in other regions. I mean, you look at a DoorDash, for example. DoorDash does advertising, even for restaurants within the business. You look at Instacart, for example. So businesses in other climes, have picked off doing adverts or ads for businesses. So we figured, why not? I mean, we have a lot of users. Chowdeck currently has over 1 million users today. And what it means is that every single month for us, we have monthly active users close to over 250,000 who come to the platform to buy food. And they do that more or less like 5 times every month. So if we're able to figure out how to get those ad spaces in their faces and have businesses buy it, then it's also another revenue stream. Like Guy mentioned, you have to consistently think of how to monetize your platform beyond the obvious. The traditional, food delivery guys will probably just sell food and just collect commissions. But we tried as much as we can to, put something else on the table that also gives us another revenue stream in such a way that if there is a need to run all the plenty discounts we are running every single month, we can be able to channel funds there and try to, give customers something to be happy about when they come to the platform.
I have been informed by my bosses that we're out of time, so one final question for Guy. Up until now, I assume you have mostly served small restaurants. Is there a plan for serving QS, I guess, the bigger restaurants as well, and what does that look like? What are the challenges you've seen so far?
Yeah, so we've actually been onboarding one of the largest QSRs in the country, and then we're now onboarding a second large one. And what are some of the challenges? Well, a lot. So, when you're going into a small restaurant, they are mostly using pen and paper. That was our in, right? We went with a proposition of hey, doing all your orders and your tickets by pen and paper is taking you forever, takes you 2-3 hours every day to close up shop, right? And then we gave them this digital menu machine. They're like, oh, this is so good, dashboard reporting. I know how much money I made. That was the in, right? And they still love that. And so we're kind of like their first love, right? So, and no one's come up or has tried to take or remove us. So we're starting to build our base there. Now, when you are trying to go with a QSR, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, they're always comparing you to their past love. That's the first thing, right? This person did that person did this. So you have to meet the needs of their old client, their old love, and then now you have to make it easier for them to transition, make it so that they can just now come in on board and be with you. And then on top of that, and then now you have to give them the hook, what's going to be so special about you. So for us, it's cloud-based reporting. We, theft control is huge, super huge, integrating with Chowdeck, integrating with Glovo, so they don't have to use multiple devices. Yeah, so you have to do a lot of work, and it's a process. So you're looking at about maybe 6 months if you're really fast, 1 year, and then once you're in, now you have to roll out every store. So it's hard.
So thank you very much for listening. I've learned a lot. I hope you have too.